Why did I never realize this true story existed? Watching the movie, it's amazing that something so incredible happened and it hasn't been exposed at all. To get that many people off the plane without incident and landing and rescuing them, even though it was so long ago. It's a pretty spectacular rescue, so why hasn't it been shown as a movie, at the beginning of the movie? They say that there's a lot of fiction involved. But if you look up the actual events, it's true. There were quite a few scenes that didn't make sense while watching the movie. There were parts of the movie that seemed impossible to fly on an airplane today. After all, they said that they put these scenes in for the fun of the movie. It's also very different from the actual events in many ways. It's clear that they hijacked an airplane and tried to go to North Korea. Except for this basic fact, the producers made it all up. They say it's for dramatic effect, and it's funny when you look at it that way. It would have been less interesting if they had done that. Even though I was watching it and thinking, that doesn't make sense. Otherwise, the movie would have been too bland. When the movie started, Hijack, the main character, was an Air Force coordinator. At that time, there was a hijacking of Korean Air Flight YS-11. A North Korean operative hijacks the plane and flies it to North Korea. Hijack is ordered to fly a fighter jet and shoot at the engine of the civilian plane that was about to be hijacked. Hijack is forced to serve in the military. The hijacking of the plane is real, but there were no fighter jets flying on civilian planes at the time. There are still people on the hijacked plane who have never returned to South Korea, mostly intellectuals. Hijack, who was forced to leave the military, was flying a Korean Air flight back to Korea from Sokcho. In the movie, there was no reserved seating system at that time, so he was the first person to run to the front and sit down. I found it interesting. They smoke cigarettes on the airplane, and they even carry chickens on the airplane, which is different from today's airplanes, where safety is the top priority. Because you don't know what will happen once you're in the air. So if a hijacker got on the plane with a knife and an IED, nothing would have been done. Yoo Jin-gu plays the hijacker. Yoo Jin-gu has a strong image of being an exemplary character who does what she has to do. This time, she plays a villain to change her image. From my point of view, Yoo's transformation is a success. Sometimes, when you change your image like this, you feel like you're not being honest. The narrative of what Yoo Jin did seems to be reinforced. We don't know why he kidnapped her. However, it is said that she did it because she was offered a big reward for turning herself in. For some reason in the movie, she was labeled as a communist against her will and became dissatisfied with South Korea. He was a good student, but all of that was for nothing. Yoo Jin-gu sets off an IED after the plane takes off, and takes control of the plane all by himself. She threatens the police with the bomb, tying them up with straps when they lose their minds, and tells them to turn the plane around to North Korea without fail. The passengers are told that if they go to North Korea, they will be sent back to South Korea. They've seen the hijacked plane that happened a year ago, and they're telling passengers to get rid of all their IDs. Depending on their status, they might not be able to come back to South Korea. The role of the flight attendant, Chae-subin, is also very important. She calms down the passengers and distracts the terrorist, Yoo Jin, and even visits the wounded to take care of them. She does this in a calm way that you wouldn't expect, and she's a real person. The captain, played by Sung Dong-jul, is almost impossible to control, because he can't keep his eyes open due to the violence on the plane. He has to rely on his copilot, Hijack. Hijack is not actually the pilot who tried to shoot down the hijacked plane a year earlier. So, it's a fictionalized version of the real-life pilot, who didn't put his life on the line to protect the passengers on the plane. In real life, a trainee pilot saved his life by throwing himself at the bomb. The captain's blindness was repaired so he could fly again, which is something that's been talked about a lot, but it's not talked about as much. People get nervous when it comes to near-death experiences. There were also people who sobbed in sympathy as they saw him trying to save the passengers without sacrificing his life. Hijack used to appear in a box office movie every summer, and I predict that this movie will also do well. They say the breaking point is around 2.3 million people, which seems possible based on the number of people I saw in the theater on the first day. There was also a doubt that the last plane's emergency landing on the beach was real, but they made it look exactly like a real photo. It was amazing at the time, and it's still amazing to this day, that the plane crash-landed on the beach, and all of the passengers made it to the ground unharmed. And let's not forget the trainee pilot who risked his own life to save the passengers.